What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and I am here with the legend King Bob. He was the unknown player that played Vegapunk. Shout out our boy Tyler for getting me in touch with this man. Absolute legend. He went 8-1 with Vegapunk. Do you remember your matchups from the event?
Yes, yes. Round one, I had a Katakuri match and I lost. The next round, I played a Bonnie and won that one, and I won the next seven. But after the Bonnie was a Reiju. After the Reiju was a Sugar, which was really interesting. Then I played a Lucci into a P Luffy, a GP Luffy, another P Luffy, and then my last round was a Lucci.
Amazing. And then, yeah, I guess like the big question I think that's just on everybody's mind. What led you to playing Vegapunk last weekend?
So I'm typically a Nami player, and I often want to try new decks, but the moment I try a new deck and it loses to Nami, I FOMO back into it. But Vegapunk was a deck that I tried and it beat Nami, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I can stick with this. And so I've been playing it on and off for about 6 months, but definitely the new blocker made me wanna made me wanna just shoot right into it.
Sure, no, absolutely. Yeah, that new blocker is nasty, but let's go ahead, yeah, and just kind of jump into it.
All
Um,
right. And
yeah, let's take a
so
look.
yeah, as y'all know, Vegapunk leader, one Dawn, and you can either add to the top of life any Egghead type or play a five cost or less onto the field. And so usually I start off with, the what I think is one of the best cards in the deck, four
Oh, that card's
Liliths.
busted.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's a three cost 5K searcher. Search top five for Egghead type. Its trigger plays itself, and so it's really like such a good searcher. It doesn't cost anything. Um, from hand, it's three. So on turns that you have more than one Dawn and you want to play another body, you can drop it pretty cheaply and search for something. If you only have one Dawn up and you need to play it, you can play it. You can add it to life, and they'll see it, but they got to hit it out and trigger it out of your life anyways. So I think it's a fantastic card, and it really fills out your curve, especially if you get to go second.
Yeah, that on second is just going nasty. Plus, I think a lot of people like. I'm sure you'll talk about it more too. But like Pythagoras, into just the Lilith search just always feels bad. Like, cause like it's a both that like Edison just kind of cycles, but you just get a card back, and so it's almost like Pythagoras can like replace himself and just like because he's gonna pseudo bring out Lilith. It's just it hurts my feelings sometimes.
100%. If you have a Frankie or Edison in hand, doesn't mean anything. You can throw it out, and if they see it in the trash, they may or may not kill the Pythagoras. If they see Liliths in trash, they might not even want to kill your Pythagoras at all. They might just leave it there and let it keep shooting at them. But yeah, it's a threatening card in hand. It's a threatening card in your life. It's nice to play out, and in the trash, it's still great. So
Exactly, because like the biggest thing, so like it and Luffy are like your only value play, and Luffy gives up the body. And that's like the biggest thing, right? That's his only downfall. You start with 2 life, and you have to kind of like add your own cards into there. So you start off with like low card economy. So every time a card can replace itself, even with like the Sanji, like any card that can do that, I think it brings a lot to the deck.
yes, card advantage and like card size has always been an issue with Vegapunk, especially with protecting bodies and having to trash stuff for Nami or counter out to save some of your bodies on board has always built bad. So this is just like a beautiful card along with a couple other searchers that I'm going to show up. And definitely the new Sanji blocker as well. But
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
like a must. I don't think anyone could cut a single Lilith. This is like
Oh, for
four.
sure, 100%. Yeah, cool.
Then we got I group them together, but we
Yeah.
got the poppers. We got the main searcher egghead body. Then we got the four of the Nami, which is Egghead Straw Hat Crew, but it's the um, uh, five cost on play. You trash one card with trigger and KO a body that's five or less, and draw a card if you have three or less cards. Um, it is a fantastic card. It's almost like a requirement to find this card into any GP Luffy matches, and it's pretty much necessary in Purple Luffy as well. Being able to kill a five cost, which a lot of threatening bodies are at this time, is so important to just like playing a body and messing up their curve. It's not a 6K, you know, it doesn't trigger out of life and play itself, but being able to play this, which you can for one Dawn, and kill a body, filter out a card, and having another 5 can board is fantastic. The trigger effect does activate its main effect, so you can still trash a trigger from hand, KO body, and draw a card. But having the 5K body is super important as well. And sometimes when this is in trash, you know, and you're able to play it out with the please save me or I request all your help event, it can shut down people's entire plays. It's not like the primary target for the please save me, but this is like a card that you want to see in your opening hand, or you want to like, you know, you want to draw for when they play their 4 or 5 cost bodies, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. And then also like the big thing is going for lethal, right? Like a lot of people know Nami as a 5 cost. They don't know Nami as a 1 cost in Vegapunk, and they get hit with like you can catch somebody off guard, you pay 1, play Nami KO, or even if they have like a 4, you play the Luffy and you just trash them. Like both those instances, a lot of blockers are like, especially like there's a slight rise in like chump blockers and just like cheap blockers where like you have cheap removal, which a lot of decks don't have access to. And in most instances, right, like you get that little bit of filter potentially with Nami, and then like Luffy, you're also going to draw a card, and you can just spend 1 Don to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it any better. You know, like in several matchups, they'll play a Rebecca or you know like a 2K chump blocker at the very end to end their turn, which maybe they could have kept it in hand for counter and it might have saved them, but they played it. And I have a couple cards in hand. One of this is a Nami or a Rocket Luffy. Pop it down for 1 Don, and now I still have 9 Don to use for swings to close out the game. And it's super good late game for taking out those chump blockers, and it's super good early game for taking out 5 cost bodies. Ideally, I'd say like Kuzans for black, purples like the Sangoras, or Charlotte and Puddings for green purple Luffy. Uh, Against Reiju, I'd say maybe Porsches. Sometimes I don't want to put their 4 cost Reiju into trash just for them to bring it out again. But the Porsches, once it's gone, it's gone. But I think it's like a card you're looking for pretty much. You want to see at least 1 or 2 of them every match.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Makes sense.
The other popper is, as you already said, the Rocket Luffy. 5 cost 6K. If you have 2 or less life, you trash this card. You KO a 4 cost body on the other side of the board, and you get to draw a card. It's really good. I don't know how to say it, any other way. It is a 5 cost 6K, so it's nice to have as a body. But being able to swing at something and test the waters to see if they block or do something, and then pop it and KO the blocker anyways while drawing a card, freeing up space on the board. It's like so good. And sometimes if I'm going to swing with this and I have other plays to do, rather than just leave it sideways and have to counter out to save it, sometimes I'll just pop any tiny little searcher on the field if I really have a full board, or if I'm really worried about something. But it's a great card. It hits hard early, and once again it can hit the 4 cost number, which there's still plenty of good cards and plenty of blockers that are played that are 4 cost. And so I think it's a really value card, and I think I could see some people maybe saying 3, but I wouldn't play with any less than 4 of these as well. It's just too good of a card. Even turn 1, if you don't see a Pythagoras or Atlas, just pop it down, and it's now a threatening body that they're afraid of dropping a 4 cost, and so now they're going to play a little bit more weird.
Right. No, makes sense. Makes sense. Cool.
Then, after the poppers, we got the bodies. These are the ones that you want to see ideally turn 1 to start hitting things. First off, we got Atlas, which is 5 cost 6K. It's because it's an Egghead Scientist type. Its trigger plays itself if you're Vegapunk. If you have less life cards than the opponent, it cannot be KO'd in battle. So this is a threat that just keeps on swinging, and it is glorious. I know back when people first started playing them back in November, I know sometimes people didn't know about its effect, that it couldn't be KO'd in battle, and sometimes they'd swing into it. But now I don't think that's happened as much. So everyone pretty much knows this effect. I think all my opponents asked about it, so no one swung into it. However, it's still a threat, and that they know that they can't swing into it. So it's just like a constant chip at their life. And there's been like a change in play style for Vegapunk, especially with the addition of the new blockers, where you don't have to swing sevens and nines early to get them to rush them down. Just keep swinging, sixes, maybe an occasional seven, and chip away at their cards in hand. They're more likely to defend out and lower their hand size because it's a weak hit. But because of that, they're not low on life, and so this lives a lot longer than before when you just load up Dawn and swing at it, and then it could die like turn 3 or turn 4. Now that doesn't happen anymore because you're just doing small little chip hits to like run them out of cards.
Sure, no, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, unless you're awakened. Awakened likes to swing into these, I hear.
Yes, yes.
Anyway.
Some people, some awakened characters who won't be named, love swinging into this stuff, and it's nice when it sticks. But if I could see this turn 1, if I see this in my opening hand, I'm so likely to keep it. Granted that I have like a searcher or a popper. If I don't have a popper like Nami or Rocket Luffy, I want to have a searcher in order so I can just make sure that I can kill something before it ever gets to swing, especially like a Kuzan or a Sanji and Pudding if they don't have stage. Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
Then we got a body that is like no other, Pythagoras. Vegapunk scientist, so when he triggers out of life, he plays himself. He is on KO. If you have 2 or less life cards, play 1 Egghead type with a 4 or less from your trash is rested. He's a 6k body. He's a bruiser. Late game, Atlas can die, and they're fine with that. But sometimes they don't want to kill a Pythagoras because if you have a Lilith in life, or a Lilith in trash, or maybe even an Edison 2k that you pitched earlier, that thing will come out as a new body that's 1k shorter. They wasted a swing, and now you got to filter 2 cards or search for something that could change the fate of the game. This thing, I feel like I've played so many matches where they just don't want to touch it. Even though I didn't find an Atlas, this was like a pseudo Atlas, and they did not want to deal with it at all. Sometimes in matches you'd find like, you played a Pythagoras turn 1 and maybe another Pythagoras turn on your second turn, and there's nothing in trash. But now you have that Vegapunk blocker from EB-02 that can trash out a Lilith or trash out some card in hand that you can play back with Pythagoras. So normally that you can't pitch a Lilith because it doesn't have any counter. But if you have a Pythagoras early, and you have enough Liliths, you could throw a Lilith in the trash, and now they're like, okay, well now this Pythagoras is an Atlas, we can't kill it, and now you're getting free 6k swings every turn.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the biggest thing too, right? Like a lot of times if they just poke 6 at it and you don't have like something in trash, right? You can load it up. Like you can pitch like the Edison, and then it's like, okay, well now like if they swing into it again, you're going to get that full value, or like it can even like disincentivize like them swinging into it now.
Yeah. 100%. And I'll say one thing: when I have like a board, like maybe like half of a board, 2 6k bodies, a 5k body, another 5k body, I don't have a blocker up for some reason. Sometimes I'll do chip hits at their life, 5ks, or at something that I know they'll counter out of, and then I'll load up all of my Dawn bar 1 on something like a Pythagoras and swing at their biggest body, just because I know they can't save it. I killed a Kaido from that a Sugar played. The turn he played it and swung, I killed it with a Pythagoras the same turn because he didn't expect that I'd do that, and I didn't mind if he swung into it and kill it because, once again, it's going to give me value. If it's just a Frankie or Edison, not as great. If it's Lilith, fantastic, unbelievable. And sometimes they have to swing at it because they don't have any other play. If they swing at your life, they're going to lose it. If your board is, Pythagoras and Atlases, then what are they going to do? They have to swing at one of them. They're definitely well, I think maybe they should pass, but sometimes they swing at Pythagoras, and I can understand the thought. We're losing a 6k, but if we have something in trash, it's worse for them than it was before. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, card's goated.
Yes. This is the real MVP, though.
Yes, this card is nasty.
This card is filthy. I don't know what they were thinking. This is the new EB-02 5-cost Vegapunk blocker. The trigger is probably the worst. Draw 1 card. I don't care about that.
Very fair though. Very fair. Like
very fair. That's balanced. That's balanced. If this was play it, that'd be ridiculous. Draw 1 card is whatever. At least it has a trigger, so I'm not complaining. Bandai. But this card is busted, and it's kind of what Vegapunk needed. A lot of times you'll have a board early game, and the opponent doesn't have a choice but to load up Dawn and swing. And yeah, you could throw away all your counter. You could throw away, a Shaka blocker previously. Now you could throw away this crappy chump blocker that on play searches top 5 card for a scientist. So not Rocket Luffy or Nami, but a Lilith, an Atlas, Pythagoras. You could play out an Edison if you wanted. You could play out the dream of a Shaka, which late game is the dream. If some people played York, which I don't think anyone is, you could play out a York. It is fantastic. You have so many scientists in your deck. Playing this card is pretty much guaranteed to hit something. I've seen some people miss, and that is super unfortunate, unbelievably unlucky. But this should always get a hit. And as Vegapunk, you're going to see you have so many searches, and you recur so many characters. Like, yeah, Lilith you can play to search, but Pythagoras can bring him back, which is another search. You have so many ways to search through your deck that you might actually be able to keep track of your deck. And I think one match against the Reiju, I went through my entire deck more than once, and and luckily I remembered where some of the cards were, but it was I'd gone through it so many times that I felt like I was in a fever dream. Um, but this is like the winner. You can play it for 1 Dawn. So on some turns, like you always want Atlas first because it's just unkillable. You swing for free, you don't lose anything, you don't have to give up Dawn. Sometimes Pythagoras swinging first, they can swing into it. So I might not even attack with it turn 1 until I have another body or something to play. This changes that, even if it sucks, because if the opponent has 2 or less characters, you trash 1 card. But if they have 3 characters, you don't have to trash a card after playing it. So you play it, search your bodies, play a scientist, and then trash 1 card from hand. But even if you have to trash a card, if your first turn was something like playing a Rocket Luffy or a Pythagoras, you play the Vegapunk next turn. Even if you trash a card, that 1 card would have been, counter you would have had to throw in to keep it alive anyways. And it may not have been enough counter. But now you get to pitch any card of your choosing, like a Lilith or something that you don't want, like a extra stage or something, and play out a body, and now you have a chump blocker. So even when you swung with something, you can just toss this right away and save it if you want, or you can keep it for later. Fantastic card to play from hand for 5 Dawn on later turns if you want to, play out something else, because you can play a Vegapunk and pull out a Lilith and then search for like a Nami or something. So you can kind of like dig and hope for the best, or search for please save me event if you get a Lilith. And so you can play these out and then use your 1 Dawn to play whatever you find extra. If you hit a Lilith searcher, you can play it for 1 Dawn from your leader ability. And the true dream, is the please save me event. If you have this in the trash, you play it out. If you're about to lose, you look for a Shaka for a event that you put in life. You now got to play out 2 blockers. One, a chump blocker you don't care about. Another, a 6K blocker that can potentially swing the next turn. And if you don't find the Shaka, it's fine. You could still find any of the other scientist bodies, which is just crazy, crazy good to have. The amount of games this has won me is fantastic. And I can tell you, actually, in the Kata game, I never saw this card. So, maybe this could have changed something, but I did not see this card versus Katakuri.
No, yeah, and then just to kind of further expand on that too, right? Like in those situations, I had my opponent like play that, like they trigger Rayquaza, and then it's like boom, and then they play that, and then like play a Lilith and find a 2K, which can also be like game defining, right? Like you don't find Shaka, you can find like Lilith, like that's 8 cards, boom, you found another one. Or it's even like you don't even need it, but you get that like extra body that's going to push for lethal.
Yes, and another thing is this is a blocker, and yes, it plays out another scientist. If you have a full board and nothing better to do, after you're done attacking for your turn, you play this out and play another body, and you can play around Electrical Luna, because now you restood characters. All of the ones that had swung, now you have a couple that are standing, so they can't rely on Electrical Luna to just freeze your board and screw you over. But yes, this is fantastic. The enemy should expect this when you play Please Save Me. I've gotten this almost every time, except for one time I played a Nami, because Vegapunk can't play out a Nami or Luffy. But one time I played out a Nami with the Please Save Me, because I really wanted to KO a body. But and I think all four Namis were in trash, so I knew I wouldn't find another one. But this card is bread and butter. This card is great mid game. It's great late game. It's great in trash. Once again, with the Please Save Me event, this is like the #1 target. If you don't have this in your hand with Lilith, if you really need a popper, look for it. But if not, this is just fantastic because you can just play another Lilith with it. And as you said, find a 2K that can save a character, win you the game, or prevent a hit and win you the game, or find whatever you need because Lilith's a fantastic searcher as well.
Sure. No. Yeah. Cards just buzz. Card is exactly what the deck needed. Like you said, card's so good.
Yes. This is MVP. This is what like pushed it over the top in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions.
100%.
The other blocker, not as fancy, Shaka. Everyone knows him. 5 cost 6K, just a blocker. If you put him in life and they hit you, he comes out as a blocker. So he's essentially, 2 hits, 2 swings that he can take care of. He's great if you play him off Vegapunk. If you just see him, he's still fine. You can play him. You can lose him early. You can pitch him early. If you want in the trash, because if you don't have a Vegapunk in trash, you can always bring out a Shaka. You can just toss him in life, and now the enemy doesn't really want to swing because they're going to give you a body. You can play him on body if you really need to. Early turns if you don't have any other play, and he's still 5 cost 6K, so he's great. In my build, I play 2 stages, so this guy is an attacking body too because I can always just restand him, which I think gives the blockers a lot more value. But he's a staple. I think you run 4 of them. No questions asked. Like somebody that can take care of 2 swings is fantastic, and paired with the Vegapunk, who you bring him out with the Please Save Me event, right when the opponent thinks they're going for game, and you see this guy, it's just like they sigh, you sigh of relief, they sigh disappointed, and now they got to go through 2 more blockers. So it's really nice. It's a really nice card to have. This is like this combo is what prevents you from losing. This is the live one more turn and try and win the next turn combo.
100%. And like pre EB, right? Like I know you say you played it for like 6 months. So like before that, it was really like the stage Shaka combo was just absolutely filthy because you're just continually restanding and he's just hitting you. Like that's like the first body you play out. You get free blocks on 6s, on 5s, which is like everybody's playing curved dot deck, so you get like a free block and then you're hitting them, and then you're gonna get that free block again, and like you're gonna play your other bodies. Like they're gonna like if you play a 5K, if you played Lilith on like 4, then like they go to swing like 5 at Lilith, and you're just like, oh, I'll just block for free. So like pre-EB, like Shaka was like the MVP, especially like with the stage just restanding. But now he's just like, oh, Vegapunk's just like, I'm way better, and we're like, cool.
Yeah. The problem with Shaka is as you said, restand and swing. People who didn't play stage, you didn't want to swing at them sometimes because he was your blocker. He was your only way out. But he was also a 6K body that you didn't get to use. Now with this chump blocker, you have a blocker that you can swing with, and like you don't care if this dies, but you kind of want the Shaka to live,
For sure.
It's a good card. Still 4 of 100% 4.
100%. So good.
Then we have one tech choice that I ran as Snake. It is a Egghead type. It's a Seraphim, not a Scientist. It's a 5 cost 6K body. On play, up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6, other than Monkey D. Luffy, cannot attack. It's on play, doesn't play it, or its trigger doesn't play it, but it does activate its effect of stunning and freezing a character. It is, in my eyes, this is a pseudo Nami. This is a play it for 1 Dawn, freeze like maybe a Kuzan, or freeze something that you think is going to attack a Cavendish while you're looking for a Nami, while you're still searching for a Nami. And it's a 5 cost 6K body, which is fantastic. In trash, once again, you can bring it out with the Please Save Me event trigger and play out a 5 cost 6K and freeze a character, which can sometimes throw off their math. If they're not paying attention, they're so used to Vegapunks and Namis and maybe Rocket Luffy's being brought out that they're not ready for a 5 cost 6K that just freezes a character. And I think it's a good card. I was thinking about maybe running 2, but I'm okay with it whereas 1. But maybe you could run 2 of this. I know some people have tinkered with other Seraphim, like the S Shark, because with Dawn he can go through blocker. And I know I tinkered around with a very aggro version with S-Hawk that's like unkillable and gets like plus 2k against slash characters, but I couldn't, the trigger for those is trash one card to play it. Um, this one just free stun, and I think it's just it buys me a turn sometimes when I'm looking for a popper. And one game it did come up where I could freeze a Lucci though swinging. I think I would have won without it, but because I froze his Lucci, he did not have enough swings. He had a Kaido, his character, and a Lucci that was frozen.
Got it.
So
One thing, so like obviously, right, because it's S Snake, Monkey D. Luffy can't be frozen, and then of course with like green purple Luffy being at the forefront.
yeah.
I believe you only played one, but did this ever like? And you're like, dang, I really wish because like their Luffy is their game ender, and so it's like the one card that this card can't freeze. Did that
I
ever?
wish. It came up, but that sometimes I would just pitch it, or it's still a card with trigger, so I could trash it with Onami. I really wish it you could freeze their 6 cost 7k restand Luffy. Um, Unfortunately, that's not what Fate has in store for any of the Boa characters, but um, uh, it didn't necessarily come up in my game against the GP Luffy that I played, and the P Luffy certainly didn't play the 6 cost 7k. But I wish I wish I kind of wish it did. Though I figure that with stage sometimes they're just gonna at the end of the game they're just gonna give their Luffy to
That's
+8,
fair.
so it still wouldn't work. But yeah,
Sure, sure.
yeah. I wish. You got me dreaming now. Now we got the 2Ks. This is Edison, 4 cost 5k. His trigger is play himself if your leader is Vegapunk. On play if you're at 2 life, uh, 2 or less life, draw 2 cards and trash 2. I have almost never played him down. Um, Maybe on the sim a couple games I've played him down. I did not need to play him a single game in the Treasure Cup. He's mainly just a 2K. You could play him from Pythagoras, and I think I did play him off of Pythagoras once, but I've never really played him from hand because I don't think your hand is messed up enough with all the searchers and filters like with Nami that trashes one, draws one. I don't think you need to you know play this card down, but he's 4 2Ks and he's a scientist that you can search off of Vegapunk if you really miss any of like the 6K bodies. So I think he has decent value. You'd still run 4 of them, and he's a good 2K. He's a good 2K, but certainly not the premier target you're looking for anything.
Sure.
I run 3 Frankies. He is a cool 2K. On play, trigger, draw 1 card, and then if you have 1 or less life, play this card. When he comes out of life and he's my second life or first life, fantastic. But he's not a scientist, so you can't find him. He doesn't do anything that affects the opponent's board state. So when I was looking for cards to cut for like my tech choices, I was like, do I really need 4 Frankies? I think 3 is enough. We've got chunk blockers, we've got searchers, we've got unkillable characters, freezes. Um, I don't think I need 4 Frankies. I've never added him to life. I don't think I never had to. He's great as a 2K, and if you see him in life, fantastic because you start at 2 life, and if he's there in the first as you drop to 1 or drop to 0, awesome. He's a great card. Sometimes I would add him to life at the very end to make them think I'll play him, but if I don't have Dawn up for anything, you put the 2K to life to think you'll play it out, but really you just get it back to your hand and don't trigger him, and so you still have a 2K in hand, and then that throws off their math because they were maybe thinking that you would play him out and hope you don't draw another 2K. But usually when you get a 2K Edison or Frankie towards the end of the game, if I did add them to life, it was not to trigger them. It was just to, pad my life and get the 2K back to him.
Sure, sure. And you only play 7 2Ks, right? How did that feel overall? Like that's pretty low. Like that's like Blackbeard level.
It seems low. It felt low making the deck. It did not feel low playing the deck at all. I felt like it was a fantastic amount because early game I took almost every hit early game. I didn't even care. Like if I dropped to 0, fantastic. I played at 0 life and would just add a card to life, and that's it. I'm good with that. I think there was a couple of games where I didn't even add to life that turn because I've had a more value play of like playing a Rocket Luffy, popping something, and then playing a Nami and popping another body. Um, but I uh, I did not feel like I needed that extra 2K at any point. You know, with the searchers, you can always find the 2Ks a bit easier. So I think the consistency is great, but I didn't feel like I needed it. You have everything you can look for. Chump blockers, searchers that can find additional 1Ks to make up for the fact that you don't have 2Ks, characters that they don't want to kill, so they're not even swinging at. Some turns, even like the good players just wouldn't swing, and I think that was the right decision because I'm like, all they're doing by swinging is they're not killing any bodies and they're risking out me triggering out another body. And so um, I didn't miss it actually. 7 2Ks and I didn't miss it.
Cool.
Yeah. Um, Four of the other bread and butter that works the best with Vegapunk. I Rayquaza your help. I have never said this. I always say please save me because I think it says on the sim.
Yeah.
Um, this is a one cost event. If you have 2 or less life, it's a 3K counter. And I have used this. I have played this from hand, not only to save, my leader once or twice, but to save characters if you have extra Dawn up. If you leave extra Dawn up and don't swing with all your Dawn, they think you have this in hand, which is fantastic because it messes up their math and makes them inefficient with their Dawn. Um, this trigger of no matter where this is, the trigger is not life dependent. For the counter, you need to have 2 life or less in order for it to actually give you 3K. The trigger does not matter. So if you have 10 life for some reason, which hopefully you don't, and you play this on top of it, the moment they hit your life, you bring out a 5 cost. A 5 cost is none of these two. You don't look at these, but you could bring out a Lilith if you really needed to. I don't think you should, but you could bring out a Nami. You could bring out a Luffy. You could bring out an Atlas, Pythagoras, Shaka, S Snake. But the main card you want to bring out is Vegapunk. If you have 3 characters on board, which is ideally where you want to be when you get hit with life, you want to bring out a Vegapunk. Usually you want to have maybe a board of 4 or 5. You let the Vegapunk die that turn, and then the one hit that comes through, you bring back the Vegapunk, and it searches and brings out a new scientist type. This card is so good. You always want to search. If you see this in your search early and you have enough plays, you add these to hand. You keep them. You can occasionally maybe pitch one if you really want to. If you're really aggressive, with Nami, if you have nothing else to pitch to play on curve. But I keep these and I add this to life preferentially the moment I drop to 0 life. Sometimes if I'm at 1 life and they're really not swinging, I'll add this to go to 2 life. But this is the golden card. This you need 4 of. This is what made the game crazy in conjunction with the 5 cost Vegapunk blocker.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
best event that Vegapunk could ask for. Second best event Vegapunk could ask for. This is of some contention. I know some players don't like playing stage, but the Egghead Stage is a 2 cost. It's if you have 3 or less life, which is great because sometimes you may go to 3. At the end of your turn, restand one of your Egghead types. This some people consider a win more card. You don't need it. I really like this card. There are games where I see this in my search and I won't grab it. Even if I could play it, I don't grab it. But when you're forced to go first some games, you lose the die roll, you're going first. Turn 1, you play out an Atlas or a Luffy or a Pythagoras. Turn 2, you play out another 5K or 6K body, but with your 2 Dawn, you can play this out. You can add this to life. Its trigger as it plays itself. You can actually, I've never had to do it, but you can deploy this from your hand with your 1 Dawn and play him as well. It's better to play a body for sure, but you can play the stage and deploy it, and it's so good. You swing with a body that you need to leave up for a block. You put some Dawn on a Shaka and swing. Now they have nothing to swing at. Early game, if you have an Atlas or a Pythagoras or Atlas or Luffy, in the first 2 characters and you're adding more characters to board, you swing with the Atlas, you swing with the Luffy, you restand the Luffy. They already can't kill the Atlas because it's unkillable, and now they can't hit your other body. it kind of chokes the opponent out. They don't know what to swing at. Lucci, we have a favorable matchup into Lucci, but having the stage now means that if you swung first with an Atlas, some Luccis who are good will swing at the Atlas, even though they know they can't kill it. They'll swing 5k into the 6k just so they can start building trash. If you play this stage, they can't swing at Atlas anymore on the first turn. So that means in order to build a trash, which they have to do, they gotta swing at your life and risk triggering out a body. It's so good. And I think it would have helped in a Shanks matchup. I'm lucky I didn't play any Shanks. It's a bit unfavored, though I think it's still like a decent shot at winning. Um, but I like this card. I wouldn't run more than two. It can feel like a dead card in hand sometimes, but with the advent of being able to trash it if the opponent doesn't have three characters with the Vegapunk on play effect, or pitch it with Nami to trigger, or Sanji, the new Sanji blocker from EB-02 is draw two, trash one. I think it's easy to get out of hand. So you can get rid of this. It won't be a brick in hand. That won't be an issue. But I think it has value. But there are times where I see it, or even if I drew it, I'm like, actually, I don't need it this game, so I'll just go ahead and trash it.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. So I guess just because we're here, because like you kind of mentioned it, has there been instances, because like you can of course add the stage to life, so like worst case it's there, but it's also like you can play it as one, especially potentially like against Lucci, right? Like you force them to swing into you or like whatnot, like they want their trash, then it's like boom, you're gonna get your stage for the cost of one instead of two or anything like that. Did it like How often are you putting stage into life?
I only put Stage to Life one game, and they saw it, and good on them. They swung into it to get it there. Maybe they didn't need to do that, but eventually they were gonna have to hit it, and they felt like, oh, okay, at least it's not a trigger body. I might as well hit it, and it worked. But this is like a, if you had to go first, this is what you play, because if you're going second, you can do the one cost searcher event and use your leader ability, play out a body, then play Lilith or Dureshi and play out a body with your leader ability. But when you're going first, you get that one Dawn. All you can do is play out a body. Three Dawn, you can play out a body, and then you have two Dawn, so you can either swing with it or you can play out a stage. And so I think it's kind of like, this is my going first protection. But I did put it to life once, just because I knew they were going to swing into me. I think it was a P Luffy match just once. But yeah, most of the time I would just play it out with two Dawn and save my leader ability for something like of more value. But I think I really just didn't have a good play. I think I chose to go first against the P Luffy's just because if you go first against P. Luffy, I think it's like a 70% win rate according to the stats. Not only you're denying them first, but you're swinging at them earlier, and even if they ramp and play out a 5 cost body, you can just Nami and KO it. But only once did I put it in life. But this is a nice card to see and have, and it's got trigger. It's got a trigger to play with, a trigger to pitch with Nami, a trigger you can find with Dureshi if you really wanted to. But I like it at two. I could see people cutting this card. I can't see anyone adding more than two. Then it's just too bricky. I did have to cut two Dureshis to play this, but I'm okay with that. I was okay with that. It didn't impact my run that badly.
Cool.
We got two of the event Liliths. It's trigger, not so great. It's just draw one card, but it is a one cost event. It lets you search for things. It lets you search for any egghead type card, which is great because Vegapunk can only search for scientist, but Lilith and this can search for egghead. Now Lilith can't search for Lilith, and this can't search for itself. But let's say you whiff on a Lilith search and you don't find the Nami or the Rocket Luffy that you're looking for. If you see this card, you can grab it, and if you have another Dawn, you got another search. So it's essentially an ability to chain searches together. If this is in your hand and you got the going second curve on turn one, you are on your. If you're going second, one Dawn, you play this search out just to see if there's anything else you need, and then use your leader ability. So I think it's a good card to have. Four feels bad. I will say I've pitched this sometimes even when it's in my hand with the Nami trigger. Sometimes you don't need any cards and you have what you have what you have. You got a full board. You feel like you know you have a Nami for things if you need it. You got the Vegapunk blocker, you got the events, you got some 2Ks and you're like, "Okay, I don't really need this card. I can trash it with one of the effects." But it's nice to have that option. Being able to trash a searcher is a fantastic feeling.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
We got two Dreshis. I wish I could run four of this card. This card is so nice. Just like Lilith, it's 3 cost, but it's trigger, draw 1 card. So not ideal. Sometimes this will come out of life and I will not trigger it because I'd rather have it. You can look at the top 5 cards for triggers. That is so good. You have no way, you know, to pick multiple cards. You know that feeling when you search for something and you have to grab one and bottom deck something fantastic? Doesn't happen. This card, you see 2 things. You can grab a Vegapunk blocker and the Rayquaza your help. You can grab a Nami and a Lilith to fill out your hand. Like you're gonna trash 1 card anyway. You can just play the Lilith to find something to trash with Nami. It is a really good card. It's good if you're going second on forward on turn. It's good later in the game too if you don't plan on swinging heavy. There's like I said, there's like some playstyle differences between some of the Vegapunks in the past and now, and I think a lot now of the success could be attributed to small hits, which means you have a lot of free Dawn. And so, at like 8 or 9 Dawn turn, you can, or 9 or 10 Dawn, you can play Dureshi. You can leader ability out of body. You can play another 5 Dawn body, and you still have an extra Dawn to play around with the swing. And I think it's a fantastic card. I wish I ran 4, but I think 2 is a little too low. Maybe if I were to cut something, I could cut a stage maybe or one of the 1 cost events but I, I I had good success with 2 and I think it's a fantastic card. Playing more like evens out your hand and adding card advantage of drawing 2 when you're only playing 1 card once again solves Vegapunk's problem of blowing through his hand at times. Um, Fantastic card. Fantastic card.
And yeah, I think the last 2 cards we have is just a little bit of spice, right?
Yeah, it's the we'll start with the 5 cost 6K Sanji blocker. This is honestly made for Vegapunk. It doesn't have a trigger, it's not searchable, but if you have 2 or less life, draw 2, trash 1. What a fantastic card. At 6 Dawn, you could just play this, search for cards. If you remember where cards are that you can't search for, like Eustass Kid or Dureshi, it's great to just be able to draw 2, trash 1. It adds to the element of trashing something for Pythagoras. It adds to the element of having more cards. So, you can toss away more counter. You can, slam down a Rocket Luffy and then immediately use its effect. You can play around so much, and it's a blocker. It's so good. It's still a 6K body, so it's so good. I've seen some people look into running more than 2, maybe even 4. I think 2 is okay. I think I could try. I might tinker around with adding more as well, but I got to see what to cut since every card just feels so great now. Um, but it's a solid card, and late game playing this card, you know, it's great. You got a 5 cost 6K blocker, and you're adding to your card advantage and getting rid of filtering your hand. So it's really good, really good.
Cool.
And then the only 2 boss monsters, I'd call them that. Everyone knows Eustass Kid's effect. It's Rush, unblockable with Banish, and it filters 1 card at the end of your hand. But really, yeah, it's on play, rest this character, trash 1 card from the top of your opponent's life. But I think does exactly what I said. It rests itself at the start. It's a 9K body. You trash a life, so it's Banish. It was unblockable. They couldn't do anything about it. Um, a nice little tidbit is at the end of the turn, trash 1 or draw 1, trash 1. So it's okay to filter cards. It can sometimes help, and it just adds to the opponent's stress. It's a high stat line, so it's hard for them to kill into. They got to invest to kill it. But really, I played this maybe half of my matches, even though it's only 2 because you go through your deck so quickly. This was a really good card. When you chip at people all game and their hand size lowers to 2 or 3, you still got a board, and you plop this down, trash a life. Now they only have maybe 1 life or no lives left for to pray for a trigger or pray for an event or pray for a 2K, and it just adds to their pressure. This paid off in a game versus GP Luffy, where I think I swung 18K, you know, it chipped away like definitely like the last 1 or 2 lives, because usually I'd have them that low at that time, and it felt solid to just plop down a card, still have at 9 or 10 dawn enough to add something to life or play another body or play a Vegapunk to like even protect the Eustass Kid. Um, and it just felt good. It felt good. I thought this was clunky. I didn't want to play this card. I'd seen some lists run it. And I'm like, it's not going. But the moment I started playing the more chip play style of even if I've Dawn up, I'll just swing 6K and just play out more bodies rather than swing big because I don't want them to lose their life quickly. I want them to run out of cards quickly. And when they're running out of cards and then you're burning their life, they're screwed because if you just hit them really hard really early, then they'll have a huge hand and then you can't finish the game. But you can like take it more slow and steady and chip away at them, take out their bodies with big swings, and use this Captain Kid to finish the game. Fantastic, fantastic card. I cannot stress how bad it looked when I thought about this card, and then how good it actually felt when you played it.
Got it. Cool. Yeah. And then so I'll go like super quick because I know you spent a lot of time here with me and I greatly appreciate that. What do you believe like it right now is Vegapunk's best matchup?
Vegapunk's best matchup, I think it's Lucci. I think Lucci is like super easy to beat. I want to say Nami too, but I haven't seen very many Namis. But on the sim when I played him, it's that. But definitely Lucci. I feel like they lost a lot, and I'm remembering Lucci because it was a real menace before EB-02 came out and before the bans hit them. And Ice Age got rid of any of your bodies, and Ice Age in a Brook, and like you're like, oh man, my 5 cost bodies can't stick. Moria would bring out Rebecca and Lucci and have an 8 cost 9K that can swing at your bodies too. It just felt like kind of unwinnable. And now I feel like it's totally opposite. I feel like Lucci gets like destroyed, and I think Lucci's a good pick into like a lot of the top meta contenders. So being able to beat Lucci, being able to have a good shot at beating P Luffy, being like 50-50, I think with GP Luffy is like nice. But I think the change to beating Lucci is just like unbelievable because every Lucci I played before would just murder me.
Yeah. And then is like Blackbeard also up there? Like if I remember, like I think Vegapunk was actually pretty decent before. I know like
Yes.
there's less Blackbeard, but I think Blackbeard also maybe.
I think Blackbeard was a very easy matchup. If you go second, it's easy. If you go first, it's easy. You could run them down. If they are smart. Okay, I won't say smart. If they're playing a style where they're using their leader ability from the get go, your 6K swings are gonna run through them and they won't have any counter left. If they're not using the leader ability, then you're getting to like pop off Liliths and your Vegapunk searches, and it once again runs through them. And having a 5 cost jump blocker is so hard for Black to remove. They got a liberation just to get this. Are they going to Shigon a 0 cost Vegapunk blocker? I don't think so. I will say I think that's going to change with the starter decks. I think that 7 cost Teach and that 6 cost Kuzan blocker that can bring out a 5 cost Kuzan that can't be removed, that can then bring out like a Van Augur into the Teach is like, I think the starter deck Blackbeard is going to be a menace, and I actually think it's going to change how I feel about that matchup. But I think Blackbeard is a very good matchup because you're too fast for them. You're playing ideally a 6K body every turn, swinging at them. Even if they get to the turn where they're playing big 10 cost Teach, you can just play like a blocker into like another body and swing with the bodies you had left. It's like it's very tough for them. It's very tough for them.
Sure.
And if
Makes
you get
sense.
stage, it's like impossible for them. If you see stage versus Blackbeard, I think it's impossible. But I do not know. I haven't had enough practice into the starter deck, but I've seen some of those starter deck Blackbeard matches, and I think it would be a bit harder, especially with the addition of that 6 cost 6K Kuzan blocker.
Got it. And then is the worst matchup just Shanks?
I think Shanks is one of the bad matchups, but it depends on if they see, in my opinion, it depends on if they see Lucky Ruse, which,
Mm.
wipe our board out, or Rayleighs, which they can do like -3K. They'll take early hits, right? And maybe
Mm.
they won't swing at you. So then by the time they're at 2 life, you're at 2 life, and now your Atlases aren't, invulnerable anymore. Then they drop a Rayleigh, do like -3k to an Atlas, -2k to a Lilith, and KO your Vegapunk chump blocker. So now you don't have those chump blockers anymore. But I think if they don't see Rayleighs, which they can't search for, it becomes a lot harder. I think you can get them down before they get the 10 cost Shanks out, and that might be a little bit of a bait into them too, because the moment they play 10 cost Shanks, your please save me in life is a menace to them. Their leader can't swing and get through your 6k blockers. So if you can bring out a Shaka when the 10 cost Shanks swings, then the leader Shanks can't swing. Or if they swing with the leader first, then you bring out like some chump blockers, and then the 10 cost Shanks goes to waste. But the Rayleigh, I think, is the problem in Lucky Roo. So I'd say the Uta searching variants, where they can guarantee like find Lucky Roos, kind of problematic. You can get around it. You can rush through it with all of the bodies you have, and having stage, I think, can help with that. But Shanks, I think it's not a great matchup, but I think it's winnable. And even if it's like a 40% win rate, 45% win rate, that means 2 out of 3 games, you could potentially take them, or 2 out of 5 games. Sorry, you could potentially take them. And so, I think, yeah, I think it's not bad. I've beaten some Shankses, I've lost to some Shankses, but I think Rayleigh and Lucky Roo, if they see it, it's a lot harder.
Sure, sure. Is there any like you just can't win this matchup, or is it like a pretty decent spread?
I think it's pretty decent. I've seen. NL is probably impossible. I
That
don't. I
makes
don't think.
sense.
I don't think I could
It's
beat
the better
NL.
yellow deck.
Yeah, I think with the advent of their new Rush NLs, it's just added more boss monsters for them to see. I think it's problematic. I would say. I think. I think Sanji, or not Sanji and Pudding. I think people who can play Nine Mom. So if P. Luffy's ran Nine Mom or Charlotte Pudding's ran Nine Mom, it's tough because they remove a body, they heal themselves, and then the body they remove goes to your life. So if they put you at like 3 life, your Pythagoras has stopped working. If they put you to like 3 life and they're at 3 life, then your Atlases start dying and your counter event stops working. Like a lot of stuff starts to fall apart if you get to too high life. So if they can chain 9 moms, I think you're gonna lose. So anybody who can do that, I think is tough. But yeah, an L I think is absolutely unwinnable. I've beaten some Calgaras. I've beaten some Katakuris, but not if they're playing like 30 plus triggers of just madness. I know I can't complain. I have a bunch of triggers too, but yeah.
I respect it. I respect it. Cool. And then, so what are we mulliganing for? Like, what is the ideal hand? And, like, does it vary by matchup? It feels like the early game is pretty much, like, the same, like, like Atlas. But, like, what is it? What are we looking for in that opening hand?
So if it depends on if you're going first or second. I always want to see a 6k body for my first turn. So I would say Atlas, um, Pythagoras's, and Rocket Luffy's. I almost don't want to see Shakas, and even on searches, I won't grab Shakas just because if you leave the Shakas in the deck, your Vegapunk is more likely to hit them when you play them out of trash or play them from hand. So I like to leave Shakas in my deck if possible. Um, but I'd say Rocket Luffy, Atlas, and Pythagoras, with the top two being Atlas and Pythagoras. You want to see those first. You want to have uh, uh, not too many 2Ks. Maybe one is fine. But if you can find a 6K, you want to pace out your first 5 turns because everything else is a 5 cost body and you'll go through it. If you can find a 6K body to play on turn one, um, a 6K body or a Vegapunk, because this could search for a 6K body to play out, on turn two if you're being really aggressive, and then one searcher. I think that's like the best hand you could look for. If I don't see a 6K, I'm mulliganing 100%. I'm sorry, like I'm not gonna risk trying to search it if there's no 6K in my mulligan, uh, in my opening hand. So I need to see a 6K, and ideally two 6K bodies will be nice. Um, but if I see 5Ks, if I see a Nami and a Lilith and like a couple of events, I'm not doing that. I need that 6K body just to immediately put like the opponent on edge. Um, but yeah, I'd say you want to find two 6K bodies for sure. Um, looking for things specifically, not really. Seeing a Nami in hand is fine. Seeing a Monkey D. Luffy in hand is fine. But you have so many ways to search. Even if you play a Vegapunk early, just into Lilith that was maybe in your deck, um, playing Lilith, playing the one cost searcher event, uh, playing the Sanji even. But see, having one or two 6K bodies and a searcher is perfect in my opinion.
Got it. Cool. And then so on that, like, what is the early game look like? How are we setting up? When are like, when are we swinging? How are we like starting the game off right?
I will turn one if I have Atlas. Atlas goes out, whether it's 1 or 2 Dawn, it'll go out. And then the next turn, I will, when I'm at 3 or 4 Dawn, I'm gonna try and see what body I have. I want to avoid triggers from the opponent that could kill it, but I will most probably load up a swing if I'm going first. So I'll go to 8 Dawn, and then I'll go to 8K and swing at them with an Atlas if I can, and then play out a body. If I'm going second and I have a Lilith or a Dareshi or a a searcher or something, I will play out. I'll swing just a 6K, and then play out the Lilith, and then use my leader ability to play out another body. And from then on, I'm gonna try and play out as many bodies as I can while trying to KO the board. Like ideally, there's turns where I'll just play out the Luffy and KO right away. Like I don't want to swing. I just want to make sure they don't get to swing, so they get that like feeling of everything they're playing is getting removed, and my board keeps getting bigger and bigger. Whether that's even just like if I'm on 6 Dawn turn, I'll play out the 5K. I'll play out the Monkey D. Luffy as a 5 cost, and then KO their body, and then leader ability out another card, and I'll only do 5 or 6K swings. I just want their hand size to go down, and the more atlases you have, you know, not lowering their life is actually better because then they can't swing into your atlas. If they swing into your life because they have no other option, then you're triggering out bodies. And so I'll keep my swings low unless I feel like I'm running out of steam. If I feel like I'm starting to run out of steam, then I'll start to maybe at like 7 or 8 Dawn start putting like an extra Dawn on characters to swing 7K or 8K. If they play a big body that like turns sideways, like a Jack or 7 cost white beard or something, I'd probably do small chip hits that I know that they're going to counter out of 1K 1K, and then load up a bunch of Dawn on my biggest attacker and swing at their big body, so I can like drain their hand of resources. Um, but because if they choose not to drain it, then they still lost their card, and you're still taking like the 1K counters from their hand. And so ideally just play the biggest body you can every turn, with special consideration for removing any 4 or 5 cost bodies. And even if you want to swing big, I think it's better to just swing smaller and just leave Dawn up. Maybe even if you really want to swing a 7K early, they'll probably take it, but then they won't take another 7K. And so if you can do that, fine. Um, uh, I just want to keep their hand size low, and so yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. My goal is just to swing at base, like the whatever the base leader is, just swing at it, because especially if you're going second, you can have a really good curve of leader ability on 2 Dawn, on 4 Dawn, Lilith plus leader ability on 5 Dawn, a Rocket Luffy or a Vegapunk or a Shaka or Sanji plus leader ability, and then on 8 Dawn, I'll start like, okay, now I want him to get lower, so I'll do 7 7 7 7, play out something. So hopefully on the last turn I can maybe drop a kid and just end the game.
Got it. No, it makes sense. And yeah, speaking on end games, how does this deck close out games? Like, because your leader can't swing, so you have less swings. It's super dependent on you sticking a board. What is like end game / closing games look like?
End game will look like they'll try and get rid of the board if they can. And I feel like it usually comes down to me having like 3 characters on board, because I would have had 5, but like I'll take swings. I'll let my chump blockers die because I'm taking hits early. All the 2Ks in my hand remain in hand. So when they try to finally swing for my characters, it'll always come down to their overextending to kill my characters, and then my characters live. And so now next turn, because been doing chip hits from like 3 or 4 Dawn, when as soon as my first characters could swing, they're running out of cards, and usually they'll be around 2 life. I'd say on average they're around 2 life, and then I'll just be like, okay, here's a 7K swing. What do you got? If they got it, okay, here's another 7K swing. What do you got? And then because my goal is to get them down to like as low life as possible, I'll try and get them to 1 life if I have a kid. Uh, ideally if I have a kid. If not, I'll still try and get them to 1 life just so I can go for game. If I don't have a kid and I'm feeling pressure, I'm gonna try and drop them to 0 life. So I might load up a bunch of Dawn and swing something that I know they'll take, and then I won't even swing with my other character, so they don't have a chance to clear my board. But it depends on if you have kid. Because if you have kid, then you can just try your hardest to get them down to 2 life, and then when they're relying on that last life, you drop a kid and continue swinging. And if you haven't won yet, you add an event to life, or play down a blocker, or add a shotgun to life. And I'll say all of the games I won, it felt like they lost on their turn because they couldn't end the game. And
Got it.
like they honestly, a couple of them, maybe like 3 or 4 of them, didn't even like they just called it like as soon as it was my turn again, just because they were hoping to either end the game or to clear my board, but I would have all my counter to save, to live out. And then like it was like almost a Hail Mary from them because my board would be full every time.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, that's like it is. I understand completely. Cool. And then so yeah, just kind of like wrap things up. Like you talk about the kid. Obviously, Eustass was really good. Did you ever consider like any other tech options? Maybe even like things like Katakuri.
I did. So I thought about the 8 cost category, especially for 8 cost kid, because like it's like tough to remove. But I every time I played Katakuri and I added their card to life, I just felt like I I didn't do anything. I felt
Sure.
like okay, they're just gonna play it again next turn or something along those lines. I didn't feel like it had as much impact as I wanted it to, and and it's like an 8 cost body, 8 cost 8K, I believe. Yeah, and it's just it didn't feel like it didn't feel effective. It didn't feel
Sure.
effective
No, I get it.
because if I did it to them, what if they had another one in hand? It just didn't. It didn't have the same impact. Like I don't play a kid on 8 Dawn ever. I always want to use leader ability, but Katakuri, when I added a card to life, I'm just like, all right, and sometimes I'd see it in hand, and I'm like, okay, this is nice to have. Maybe I can use it to save myself, but I didn't feel like it was as helpful. I did play with 5 cost Ace, the Rush Ace. That if you have 2 or less life, it gains Rush, and I felt like that card was good. It had value. It was a 7K body that was harder for them to swing at than any of your other bodies, and it like did have that threat of like, okay, now you finally have a Rush character. Um, but I felt like it wasn't needed because once I had stage, it's almost like my Shaka is a rush character because I got to swing with it and put it back as a blocker. So it was like a rush character that died that turn. Um, and so I felt like I didn't need it, and I felt like 5 cost Ace was clunky in hands. There were some times where I was like, I couldn't even like use my Nami because I would have like a Sanji in hand and a 5 cost Ace, so I couldn't even KO anything because it wasn't a trigger in hand. But I did think about it. I honestly, there's like a new reveal for OP12 for like that Don Quixote that has
That's
Rush.
nasty.
And I was like, oh, you know what? That might actually be something cool because it has cool, but I'm sure Enel will find a way to play it, make it better, and ruin Vegapunk's lives. But um, uh, more Sanjis is something I've thought of. There was a room ability that came out that's a Trafalgar Law. It's like if you have 1 or less life, give something 3K counter and restand. So it's like you could block, counter, and then restand the blocker you just blocked with, which I'm like, okay, that could have potential. It's not egghead or searchable, but it could have potential. Uh, I've thought of the 7 cost Linlin, but it's kind of clunky. And I thought of the 6 cost Linlin that came in the starter deck, but it's too expensive to trash a card from hand just to have them like trash a life or trash 2 cards that are bricks in hand. So I opted away from them. But I do think it's okay to play bricks in this deck because you have ways to get rid of cards. But you want your deck to be fluid so that you can trigger out a lot of bodies, and you want to have as many scientists as possible for the Vagabond because this is like the current MVP.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's about all I had. I super appreciate you taking the time here. King Bob, did you have any shout outs? Anyone, you just want to shout out anything?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my boys Jimbei, um, Joe Fluffy, uh, Noob Singing Slasher. They're my buddies. They've been, playing for a while. They're stuck with it. I have a bunch of other friends who, have kind of they say they'll come back next set, and it's been a couple sets since they started saying that. But they've been, playing with me and playing with me on the sim, taking me to locals and stuff, and we go to regionals together. So it's fun playing with them. And I really want to shout out, Abster. He's a content creator, plays a lot of Blackbeard, Vegapunk. Uh, he has some quality content. A lot of my deck list was inspiration from him. He runs a similar deck list, some variations. I don't think he runs stage, but he doesn't like hate it. He just thinks maybe everyone has their own preferences, which I am 100% on board with. That matches playstyles, but he has some good content, and him playing made me kind of want to play Vegapunk again. Um, but yeah, I mean, those are the people I'd shout out.
Cool.
And y'all should check out Abster's content, as y'all should check out Vampyr's content. He does great content as well. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much, and congrats again.
All right. Thank you so much.